But we need to remember at the end of the day that you bought at one point in time and probably had a military seller on the other end that made sure you got into the home. Make sure you pass it along to the next person. That is the true military spirit. We are here as military families all together to help one another. Hello, welcome to Closing Chapters, Everyday Real Estate Tales. I'm your host, Brittany Fry. I'm a realtor, I'm a military wife, and I'm a mom. Join me and come transaction by transaction throughout my real estate career starting back in 2016 to hear about the highs, the lows, and the unexpected turns along the way through all of my customers. It's going to be a crazy ride, you guys. I am so excited to share the past, the current, and then what's coming in the future. Hang tight for the ride. Join me about being a realtor, a military spouse, and a mom. Can't wait to see you there. All right, my friends, imagine it is time for your second opportunity to purchase a house. I'm going to take you back to August of 2018. I had a great client who was ready to buy her first house. We got under contract on a property, and in true military fashion, she received orders to deploy in less than a month after we got under contract. Really, it was like 2 weeks. She was out. So what do? Right? And this can get a little bit tricky. When you are under contract on a property, it's a legally binding agreement, friends. You are held to that contract and you should follow through and purchase it. Now you say, but military orders, right? And yes, to an extent. And I'm going to tell you the seller's perspective on this whenever we said, hey, seller, I am so sorry. This was completely unexpected. We have short orders to deploy. Please let us out of this offer. Okay. And the thing that ties us to this offer is our earnest money. So the money that we give up and saying we are acting in good faith and we are going to move forward on this property, right? And depending on the scenario, right, there's not a one size fits all. You could be liable for the whole purchase of the property, depending on the scenario and what's going on and how the seller decides to move forward. So in this instance, we said, hey, seller, I'm so sorry. We have short orders to deploy. Can you please let us out of this contract? And the seller came back and said, I completely understand. Best of luck on your deployment. However, a deployment means you're returning back to this duty station. Therefore, you could still purchase this house and have it waiting for you when you come home. All right. Now, if you were a buyer and that was your option, would you really want to buy a house that you don't even get to move into and then leave for 6 months and then come back? And plus, how do you even coordinate that in 2 weeks' time, right? Who's helping you? Who's living there? Who's maintaining it? Who's taking care of everything? If you had time and you could like sublet it, lease it out for 6 months, then great. Or if you had a roommate or whatever the case may be. But just all of that happening on a whim, so totally unexpected, was not the best scenario. So what we decided was, okay, we understand your perspective. We're still not going to move forward purchasing the house. We don't have a way to coordinate and make all of that happen in one foul swoop, right? And I want you to know, sometimes when people go away, it honestly like puts them up to quickly move to a different base. So for instance, when my husband did a year tour to Korea, it was automatic that he was not going to come back to Shaw Air Force Base. We would move after his year tour in Korea to a different base. So that's not always, the way that this shakes out. But anyhow, what we agreed upon is that we would split the earnest money 50-50. So the seller got to keep half the earnest money, the buyer got back half of their earnest money, and she quickly packed up and deployed. So fast forward 6 months later, we are home and we are ready to get into a house. It is our second chance to be a homeowner. And what a beautiful chance we had. She landed a house that was just under 1,600 square feet on a little over half an acre on a beautiful wooded lot for $138,000. 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bath. It had been recently renovated, had a nice big Mama Jamma garage, and she is a workout queen. So that garage was perfect for her to set up all of her equipment and do her thing. So we closed August 9th, 2018. and so began her homeownership journey. She did do the smart thing. She was a single lady at the time, and she got herself a roommate. So at $138,000, her mortgage was completely affordable. However, if you have the opportunity to be able to rent a room and have somebody help you pay that mortgage for you and put some money in the bank, build some wealth, maybe work towards buying another property, heck yeah, buddy, let's go. So anyhow, the really cool thing about this property, though, is it was on a road called Watermark Drive. And this road became like my staple selling plaza, right? I had the opportunity to help with 4 different transactions on this road, and they were literally like on a corner together. There was 2 houses, one across from those two, and then the other one was catty cornered, and that was hers. She was like the one the catty cornered down on another cul-de-sac, but like one foul little swoop. It was so amazing. And what's even really like crazy about this is 3 out of those 4 houses were all purchased or sold by people that were in CE, like they were Civil Engineering Squadron at Shaw Air Force Base. 2 of them, the ones that were actually side by side, actually ended up in the same shop for a while before one of them moved to a different base. How crazy is that? So it was kind of like this tight little knit community right there. We had our CE folks right on Watermark Drive. So that was so cool. And that was my husband's squadron when we were at Shaw Air Force Base. And it was such a blessing to be able to help all these folks get in and out of these properties and make that happen for them. The only downside to this area is it was like a no zone for cell service. So I always knew if I was going into that neighborhood to show was like, you'll catch me when you catch me because you will not get me on the phone. But once you have Wi-Fi set up, all of that's kind of null and void. And the really cool part is that these were all like really mature lots and decent sized lots with tree lines. So it was pretty private and just really awesome um, properties for first time home buyers for sure. And all 3 of the people that bought there were first time home buyers. So it felt great. Now, the other one, we're going to have an opportunity to talk about this soon, that I sold across the street. That one was a jackpot because we sold it for above what the expectation was in a multiple offer situation. And I was so stinking proud. It was a very interesting scenario with some different parties involved, and we'll get into more details on that. But it was a really great moment for that feminine spirit to come through. You know what I mean? If you've ever dealt with old school military, it's a man's world and they think that they know it all sometimes. Not that everybody has a crystal ball because we don't, but I was pretty confident in what I was doing and it was really sweet to see it come through. So you just hang tight. That'll be a fun story to tell. But back to this one, right? Can you imagine getting home from a deployment, getting to move into a new space and having a fresh start? How awesome, right? And I was so tickled pink for her, and she was doing so many great things for her life in general that it was really cool to be able to support her on this endeavor. Now, she went to sell this house 3 years later in 2021, and she made 20 grand on it. And that was, really good. I mean, she did not overprice it. She was still super reasonable. So somebody else got a really awesome property that was still relatively newly renovated on a half an acre lot for $158,000. This house now probably wouldn't sell for less than $200,000. So she was really generous. But still, that's the beauty of being in the military spirit, right? When you get a good deal, you pass that good deal on to the next person. She put some money in her pocket there, got to move on to her next space and reapply that to another home. But at the same token, whoever followed in right behind her also got a really good deal and she took care of one of her military comrades. And I think that is so important. And it's something that we need to remember right now because so often everybody is hearing all this fluff and noise from different directions and it's like, oh, I don't have to pay that, oh, I can make more money, whatever the case may be. Okay, but we need to remember at the end of the day that you bought at one point in time and probably had a military seller on the other end that made sure you got into the home. make sure you pass it along to the next person. That is the true military spirit. We are here as military families all together to help one another. We are all brothers in arms, regardless of whether we're the member, the family, whatever the case may be. So, any opportunity, talking specifically to you, my military members, any opportunity that you have to be reasonable and to help the next military person that needs a place to be, do it. It'll come back to you. You can still make money, you can still be successful, and you do not have to be greedy, you do not have to be unreasonable, and you can take care of everybody in one foul swoop, just like you were taken care of when you purchased that property. Okay? So, this is just a fantastic example of that. I'm so proud of all that she has done and accomplished. Now she is married, has 2 babies, and is getting ready to go through another move to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. So, it's been really cool to reconnect with her over the years and keep up with her through every stage of life. And I'm so glad that I got to help her with this first huge milestone of home ownership.